Out of Victoria, where the push for the Indigenous treaty has been dealt a major blow after the state opposition, Liberals and the Nationals, dropped their support. The coalition previously supported a bill to begin the treaty process back in 2022, but on Sunday, the leader of the Nats in Victoria, the Shadow Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, Peter Walsh, told Sky News that the party had changed its position amid growing concerns about cultural heritage issues.
We have had internal discussions and we don't believe we should proceed with treaty until issues around cultural heritage, until issues around the Traditional Owners Settlement Act are actually resolved.
So just to be clear, the coalition in Victoria no longer backs the treaty process?
No, we don't.
Joining me now, someone who called it right at the time, former Victorian Liberal MP Tim Smith, who crossed the floor on this issue back in 2022. Tim Smith joins me now from London. Well, you were the only one, Tim, who took a principled decision on the issue of treaty. You've been proven right now. You were right also on the tone that Australians took in the Voice referendum on this very issue. So why do you think it took your colleagues so long to come around to this view?
Well, good evening, Peter, and I am very, very pleased to see that the Victorian Liberal and National Coalition has decided to finally oppose this terrible treaty. When I got up in the party room in June 2022 and informed my then colleagues that I was going to cross the floor, one of my key arguments was that I had just got off the phone with Senator Jacinta Price, and she told me that she thought that a state treaty was a ridiculous idea. Now, I won't name names, but a few of my colleagues at that stage had not heard of Jacinta Price. And after her maiden speech the following month, in July 2022, a few more of them have heard of her, but it's one of the best speeches I've ever heard. And then post the Voice campaign, where Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine and Tony Abbott and a whole host of other great Australians led the campaign for unity against division. And finally, the Victorian Liberal and Nationals have woken up to the fact that we don't want to be divided by race in our country. We're all Australians. You can't make a treaty with your own people. It's that simple. And hearing Peter Walsh's language over the last couple of days, they still haven't got the messaging right. They're talking about processes and this act and that act. And, well, no, it's really simple. You can't enter a treaty with your own fellow citizens. We're all Australians. Didn't the Voice referendum teach us that? It did. Overwhelmingly so. We don't want to be divided by race in our own country.
So what happens now without the Libs? I presume you'll tell me, is this treaty dead in the water? And is there any chance, given that you're right, the Libs' main criticism is all about process, it's not about the fundamental principle that this is wrong. If the government goes out of its way to address some of the process arguments, are the lefties in the Liberal Party going to drag them back into this treaty at the next election, do you think?
Well, the Labor Party are obsessed with dividing Australians by race. And this is identity politics, it's divisive, it's woke tokenism, and it's wrong. But unfortunately, there are those in our own party, in the left of our own party, who share, at the very least, a concern that if they don't support these sort of divisive, woke, tokenistic initiatives of the Labor Party, they might lose their inner urban seats. So, yes, I'm sure at the moment there are inner urban Liberals who are not happy with this decision. In fact, I know they are not happy with this decision. So watch this space as the various different groups and factions have their say on this, because I'm sure they're not happy about it, some of them. And I suspect there's more to be said about these matters internally over the next couple of years.
Hey, just before we go, given they've seen the light in relation to a treaty, do you hold out any hope that they're going to see the light in relation to some of Victoria's really outrageous gender laws, particularly in relation to children?
One can only hope. One can only hope that that the silent majority spoke during the Voice referendum. And what I hope that the Voice referendum showed the Victorian Liberal and National Party is that if you've got the ticker, like Peter Dutton did, to oppose something that is fundamentally illiberal and fundamentally wrong and fundamentally contrary to the principles that Sir Robert Menzies set our party up to argue for, then in the public square, you'll actually do all right. You might actually win the day. So show some ticker, have some courage, stand on your principles, and argue for the great mainstream of Australian society who don't want these divisive and frankly wrong initiatives foisted upon Australian families.
Tim Smith, thanks for joining us. I know it's early in London, but appreciate your time.